Hello. What a wonderful day. This is the day that the Lord has made. I'm going to be blessed in it. You claim that as well. Welcome to Word of Life Voices. Check in with Mama Wade. Better health, better me. Today we have another very interesting program that I have been led to bring to you today. And we're going to talk about something that's happening right around us. But a lot of times you don't even recognize what it is. So my guest today is once again Reverend Edward Jones, Sr. of Now is the Time Ministry of Faith. And the topic that God gave me was how I got over. How I got over. Before I bring them up, I believe, and this is my personal belief, I believe that if people know where a person came from, or if they know what a person can come out of, just maybe you will have a better understanding of people. So we're going to talk about it today. And things are going to come out about Reverend Jones and more about my life. And few people know my testimonial story. They know about my way out, how I came over it. And we believe God that this particular program on Better Health, Better Me is going to help somebody to become their better self. So welcome in the studio with me, my brother, Senior Pastor Edward Jones, Sr. of Now is the Time Ministry of Faith. Hey, brother.
God bless you. God bless you, my sister. Wow, what a joy. God bless you to our listening audience. Thank you so much, sister, for once again receiving me back for the broadcast. Yes. I'm excited about these broadcasts, but that's because I'm excited about you and how you're reaching the people with your better health, better life, better health. I like that. You know, can you see my T-shirt I got on there right now? Better health, better me, better me, better life.
Better me, better life. Praise God.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me once again. You know,
I did before I was getting myself ready. I went on and Reverend Ed, he broadcast on Wednesday from 11 to 11:30 Facebook Live, and I went on to listen to your teaching, and I did remember telling you such compassion that came from it, that I felt it through the phone, such brutal honesty and such truth. And that's who you are. You know, God calls us to be real so that we can be real with the people. And I believe we will illuminate more with the people when we are our authentic self. And that's who you are. Yeah, so we're going to get right into it, Brother Ed, because I know there are people who are going to be able to benefit from our blunt, authentic conversation that we're going to have with them today. And yes, this is still Men's Health Month, and my message is still men's power up. And we're going to be able to see how there are a lot of men, but people that are dealing with issues that my very own brother dealt with throughout his duration, but he got over it. Reverend Edward Jones, listen, I'm not going to come with a whole lot of questions. I want to start with that initial, them four initials, PTSD. Right. And I want to be able, because it's a mental issue, right? It's
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I would like for you to share with our audience, what have you learned about it? I know while you were going through it, you didn't see it, but what have you learned about it that can be able to explain to people, to men, to us, what that thing is really all about and how it affects you?
I think what I've learned most, my experience with PTSD is course war related. I went into the United States Army in 1966, of November 1966, and not too much a year later, I was in Vietnam, and so I was a medic. And I received the Silver Star and the Bronze Star and a couple of others that I really don't talk about too much. The Bronze Star would be supposed to be, I don't even know what happened. And the only reason I know a little bit about the Silver Star is because they sent me right up finally And I know that out of all the wars that we have had since World War I, I understand there's only 70,000 individuals that have the Silver Star. So it's a high-ranking honor for gallantry in action.
So what war were you in? Tell us about the war.
I was in the Vietnam War. I was in what they call the Tet Offensive in 1968. Of course, you know, in the whole Vietnam War, we lost 58,000 men plus. But I was a medic in the war. And I won't get into the details too much because it's a trigger. It brings back certain things. I do remember certain things. I'll talk about it a little bit. It doesn't bother me as much as it had. But the thing about PTSD, I think it's like high blood pressure. Now that I look at it, it's a silent, it can be a silent killer because it can kill your dreams, your desire, and everything about you. So it is silent because for many years I got out. When I first got out, let me go here. When I first got out in 1968 in November and went to VA, we weren't received very well. We weren't received very well in the streets. And brothers that may be veterans, they know that we weren't received very well. And so because of the ordeals I had and mad at them, I never returned to VA for anything until probably 2013. And what I didn't know that if I probably had gotten help or somebody could have told me about PTSD then, I would have. But when we act strange, and we have always heard down through the years, and I know you've heard this, when brothers come back, or even sisters too, let me throw them in there now, because I'm big on sisters being in the military. Don't think it's just about men. It's about women that have PTSD, not only in the service, but in the real life, they have PTSD, and we'll get into that a little later. But what I found out about PTSD, if I had gotten it earlier, I would have maybe got some help. But because I would have known what it was, but I didn't. That's why I say it's silent. So what happened is that because of that, when I started, I didn't want to be labeled because I was doing strange things. I've even tried to commit suicide. My wife don't even know it. I cut my wrists because I didn't know what I was going through. I led a lustful life. You know, my wife knows about it, so she ain't no surprise. So you got to run and tell her. She already know that. Alcohol and drugs, and we'll talk about that. But I found out that was an scapegoat because I wasn't aware of what was really going on with me. A lot of the things I know now about PTSD, as far as like the symptoms, the reoccurring when certain things happen, it would trigger certain behaviors. I had mood swings that I didn't really realize that I attributed to the drugs that I was using, but it really wasn't, because sometimes I'd have them and I wouldn't be smart. I was hypervigilant, like as I am now. Certain things that I go alert. I still do what they call perimeter defense, which means I'll wake up in the middle of the night and walk around my house and check all the doors and windows and know the burglar alarm is on. I got surveillance cameras in my house that I watch my house, and I can watch the front and back. And when I look out the back and see all the bushes, I go back sometime because I can see light nowhere. If you light something in the dark at night, I can see it because we've been trained. So there's certain triggers that you go through then there's the avoidance. There's some things that you just don't deal with because it's triggered. Over the course of time, we developed defense mechanisms I have to be able to know the trigger and to kind of better handle it. But PTSD is something that never goes away. I have family members today that's dealing with it from a tragic event that happened in their lives, and they have never even been in a war. But
answer me this question, Reverend Ed. How old were you when you were in the Vietnam War?
19.
You were 19. Listen, a teenager, someone who really mind haven't fully developed yet. But here he is over in a Vietnam War, and a lot of us know about the Vietnam War. And so now we can see, as we're talking, how this major change, this major event in his life, how it triggered some things, how it actually went in there and started even adding to his teaching that he's supposed to be receiving, a positive, wholesome teaching as his mind is developing at this particular age, because our children's mind are not developed fully until they get to a certain age. So it was important for me to know, how old was he when he was introduced to this thing, when he was put into this war, and the things that he saw, which he didn't want to become too descriptive, because as he said, it still triggers him today.
And
He's showing us a lot of the events and a lot of the things that have happened because of that experience he had when he was a 19-year-old kid, still a kid. That's why I say, if you know where a person comes from, if you know what a person has been through, maybe that'll stop us, you, me, from becoming so darn, I almost cursed, but I didn't.
Me too. I do that.
Judgmental.
Yes, yes.
That's to try to understand.
Because they don't understand. You don't know what people go through. One of the events that I do remember was my first tragedy when I first got into, when Ted first jumped off, and I had so many killed. I've been in double L ambushes. That's the thing where we shooting at us from both ends. And my best friend who went over me, his name is Gerald Brent. I never met and found his family number. I was with him, and he was right sitting beside me. And this is why what troubles me about the street and the guns that talk about we need to get rid of these weapons of war, because the enemy, if the enemy shot AK-47s, he was hit at least 30 times, and I had to carry him back to the rear. And when I did, I never cried anymore in Vietnam. I never even went in a foxhole. But that was traumatic, and I still remember that day. I remember I've seen people's head get smashed off. I've seen people, bombs explode, and they run around in a circle dead. Did you hear what I said? They run around in a circle. They're running and they're dead. I've gotten to it, and the brains is coming out their nose and their ears. I've seen all of that. And that's just half of what I've seen. I got a friend named Joseph Decker that I put in a helicopter. They smashed the door on his head. You know, and finished killing him. I had to pull him back out, but he had no face when I put him in there. I've seen things that people don't even dream about. And I held that all in. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I held that all in. And when I needed help, I wouldn't get help because when I came back here, I didn't know that I needed help. But I knew I didn't want to be labeled what the old school would say. I didn't want people calling me shell shock. I didn't want people say he crazy. I got brothers walking the street right now that I go to VA and I see them. They messed up. They messed up. The only reason I'm not a killer, could have become a killer, is because of the fact I became a medic. And the reason I became a medic because I wanted a gun. So, but if I had became a expert marksman like I am, I could have. When I was in the world out there and didn't know I had this PTSD, you know what happened? I would always think if somebody mess with me or mess with my family, don't know. I take a block of C4 and get a pen and get what we call a fire pin and put in it, and I blow up their whole house. They don't know who I am. That's the way I used to think, you know. But thanks be to God, you know, that I was able to come through. That's all right. I do it. I used to cry sometimes, but I still do. I have nightmares right now still. I take medication for a night. I tell people we need to have help. Because I have a psychiatrist and I go to group therapy, but I have to because I can relate with other brothers and sisters that's in my group called 5H Josephine, that we talk about this and it lets us know that we're not alone in this. But this doesn't only affect us as veteran sisters. I'm pretty sure if you look over your life, and I know your life and some of the things you went through, you suffered with PTSD, and there's some triggers, I'm pretty sure, that triggers you at times.
Listen. And yes, this is very emotional for me because I know him. And I do remember it was this neighborhood we hung in because I was very close with his sister, Cynthia, who actually had a baby by my brother, Fast Eddie, who's now in glory. Yeah. And he had a son called Antoine. We call him Twilla G. And the reason I'm mentioning these names is because we're still going to talk about the PTSD. And I remember, because I knew Cynthia, that's how I got to know her brother. I didn't know him at the time, but I knew of him. And I knew he was nobody to play with on the block. And when he said how he was totally protective and on the defense at all time, especially when it came to his family or when it came to his friends, or when you just, even if you said something that just, you know, triggered him, which I didn't know at the time it was triggering him. Ed had no problem. And this was the talk on the block, man. You don't want to mess with him. You don't want to mess with him. He ain't, they did. They called him crazy. They said he ain't got no sense. They said he all howl for that stuff. You know, they just start talking about him, not knowing where he had been. And I didn't either at 19 years old. And at that time, you know, my friend C, you know, I call her C, she was so concerned about him. She was so worried about him. She said, you don't know, Ed would go off. And I remember one day I just went with her and we went running and looking for him because they said he was getting ready to go and he was finna shoot up this joint, you know, all because of something that happened. So what I'm trying to show you all, not justifying anything, but trying to show you all how that effect happened to him from being a 19-year-old kid who went to a major war, a disgusting war. You heard the story, the things that he saw, he couldn't get rid of it. So we don't know how it transferred in his mind to make him become that person, to make him even get into a drug world. But I want to say this here. Blessed be to God. Blessed be to God. Blessed be to God. Listen. He took people like Ed. He took people like me. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it and how he's the one who brought us out. He's the one who gave us the healing that we need, because he said the world wasn't giving it to him when he came back. And I remember watching it on TV. I wasn't cognizant of the time, but I remember how they got treated when they came back.
They spit on us. We couldn't wear our uniforms. I didn't even wear my uniform. And then when Cali got convicted because he killed bunch of people, our Silver Star tells me that I killed a whole bunch of people. And they were not adults. They were kids, because kids in Vietnam are born into the army and they're 12-year-old and they taught to kill us. And so that don't help you either. So what I think the reason, the only reason I did change is because I had two professions. I didn't go the way of the infantryman that I could have went, which I had the ability to become a killer. And yes, I've been in some situations that I had two pearl handle H&Rs that I bought on 22nd, right off of 20th in Cicero, with two pearl handles, nickel plated. I carried them at all times and wouldn't have no problem using them. And I stopped because of the fact I don't carry a gun today, because I still have a tendency, I ain't gonna shoot nobody because I got the love of God in my heart, but don't push my button. Still don't push my button. I have developed defense mechanisms that protect me from that. They got these firecrackers, fireworks going on. I jump every day. I was out the other day. They shooting them firecrackers. I heard them, especially the ones that sound like M80. I've heard bombs fall. I've seen what bomb craters can do. I've seen what AK-40. When a child gets gunned down, they talk about automatic fire. That kid's in Uvalde, Texas. That hurt me. To know that guy stood up there and y'all didn't go in to get him. I'd have went in because people know me. My friend told me he seen me jump from the expressway to go down and get somebody that was injured in a car accident. And they say, how did he get down there? They say he jumped down there. And I don't remember that, but I know this today. But why did you jump down there? Because of the reaction that I was taught as a 19-year-old, how to respond to violent situations. And my wife used to get mad at me because whenever there was an accident, I would stop and go there. She'd be afraid. She said, don't go there, but I had to because it had been embedded in me. That's all I knew. But because of God and because I found the love of God, that gave me the support that I needed. And you never get over this PTSD. It does not go away. You learn to deal with it. But imagine how many people have not become aware of the fact that they're suffering from PTSD. Our children, their loved ones are gunning down. Their mothers that gun down. They have a problem. I got family members today that have had loved ones that gun down. And it's 10 years later today. And they are suffering today. They're hurting. I see them on Facebook cussing it. I don't want to be bothered with this effing day. Because what? Because they're suffering from the post-traumatic stress and the symptoms of it, and they tried to use avoidance, which is one of the things we try to use when we have PTSD. We try to avoid the situation, but how can you avoid it when the news is bombarded with the violence and the gangs and the massive weapons of war that are being used in our communities to gun down? When we see masses of people, 5 and 10 of them, being killed a day, the same way we killed in Vietnam. How do we avoid that? How do you get away from that? How can we get away from the mood swings that we go through as a result of all of this violence that's happening in our community? Do you think this is helping veterans? No, it's not. Do you think this is helping people? And then how do the police deal with it when they have to shoot a 12-year-old? You think they don't end up with post-traumatic stress? How do a fireman go into a fire and take a baby out of fire? You think they don't deal with they just not finding out that they need psychological help and intervention now. They just not finding out within the last 5 years that it affects them. But what about the ones on the block? What about the sisters and the brothers and the fathers that have lost loved ones from gang violence and from fire? Where is the support for them, sister?
Amen. Amen. Listen, you can hear the passion and you can hear everything in them. Once again, excuse me, Facebook. Once again, I'm speaking with my Instagram audience and followers, and someone have on here much needed conversation. Keep it going. And once again, a call that came through, and it looks like that we're going through what we went through yesterday. So once again, I know now I'm going to have to, or as my friend said, technical difficulties. So I'm going to have to come off Instagram, bring you back on, and if you can, get back on so you can finish listening to the duration of this particular conversation. Once again, I'm sorry, my Facebook family. This was pretty heavy for me, but we're going to try this thing again. I don't know why this calls. Sir, I'm going to have to find a way to. I'm gonna have to find a way to cut off where they can't bother me when I'm doing my better help better me, because this is some very, very important information. And we had a pretty good following on the Instagram family that, like I said, one of them said it was one of my followers, Limited Fisted 2, was saying how important it is. Thank you so much for coming back on. We're going to keep this conversation going. Listen, let me tell some of you all what post-traumatic stress disorder means. A lot of people don't know. They just hear the initial PTSD. They say it's a serious mental condition that some people develop after a shocking, terrifying, or dangerous event. These events are called traumas.
Yeah.
After a trauma, it's common to struggle with fear, anxiety, and sadness. You may have upsetting memories or find it hard to sleep. Now, Mayo Clinic said post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is a mental health condition that's triggered, and you heard him say triggered, by a terrifying event. Here it is, hold on. Either experiencing it or witnessing it. So now we're getting ready to take this thing as he have been leading us. We're getting ready to take it into now the neighborhood. PTSD, where can I get it from? They said experiencing it or witnessing it. We have it in our country for sure.
Yes.
What about our very own neighborhoods? What about in our very own homes? What are people experiencing? That's why I say be careful judging people, not understanding what they have experienced or what they might still be experiencing. In a home where it's violence being done, domestic violence, mommy whooping daddy, daddy whooping mommy, or listen, don't even have to put the hand on them, just the constant verbal abuse that a person, a child, an individual is up under. And Lord knows a person that done been to the war, and they're still living at home with their mother or with their father because they can't get a place to be able to move into because of their mental health. What about them? What about in the neighborhoods? I remember, Brother Ed, when we were staying down on 54th and Calumet, your father, Ploop, had got me the apartment that I was staying in. And Cynthia and them was on the corner. And I was around that corner, and I was like right off Calumet. And right down the street from there was a lounge or something where everybody in that neighborhood hung out. I didn't know the people. I had just moved there. So I didn't hang down there for real. But we had a courtesy on the block where everybody was, hey, how you doing? We would speak to one another. So you were able to recognize the faces, and you were able to hear the stories, because the neighborhood I lived in, it was definitely drug infested. I sold drugs. They didn't come and bother me. They gave me permission. You could sell your weed from here. And then they did their thing down there. And it was just like that in the hood. And I remember one day, Ed, I was sitting up in the house and I heard pow, pow, pow. And I was like, what the? And instead of us running from, a lot of us run to. And I hate the day that I ran to that scene, because they're like, it was these brothers around here. They were twins. And there laid on the ground was one of the twins. He had got shot in the head, and Ed, he was dead.
Yeah.
It wasn't no move. That first time I saw a dead body. I mean, he was dead, and I stood there, froze, and I'm looking at his twin. So this twin down, looking at himself, laying on the ground, dead. Post-traumatic distress. Can you imagine?
With that.
Picture what he witnessed that stayed in his mind. I'm telling you what stayed in mind, but what about his mind? Now, did he ever get treated? No. There was nothing available in the neighborhood, and there's nothing really much available in the neighborhoods now of people witnessing death, people witnessing killing, kids out there killing kids, people out there doing things that, my God, just messing them up mentally messing up mentally.
You see how emotional you are?
Oh, my God.
Because you know why? Because the conversation that we just had triggered that event, which was traumatic to you. That's post-traumatic stress. Had I not talked about these events, I wouldn't have triggered you to go where you went. And that's what happens in our communities. That's when we see some people. What happened to me? I remember Yummy Sandiford when brought me into the ministry. When I seen him laying in that battle, a 12-year-old youngest gang member to get gang back then. So when we go back and you reflect at something I say, and that's what it is. Something you hear, somebody says is a trigger to take you back. This conversation and this talk about PTSD took you back to, you went back to 54th Street. Did you hear yourself?
54. And how I dealt with it, because you remember I said our topic is how I got over.
Yeah.
You see, I didn't get over it. I thought I did, but how I dealt with it, I told you I was a weed smoker and I was a drinker. I went up to the house and I started rolling joints, and I'm sitting there and I'm just smoking and I'm drinking, because I'm trying now to get up out of my head, to get up out of what's going on with me, what I just saw, what I just experienced, my first dead body that I saw. And so was there a healing? I didn't get no healing. At least I didn't. What I did, I just covered it up. We mask it.
But you only covered it temporarily, because the weed was only the stepping stone to something else that you need, because the weed sometimes no longer works. Because mine started with weed, but I ended up, my best one that I thought covered it was tack. Because that would make me hallucinate and take me into a whole different world where I didn't have to deal with that stuff that I didn't know what I was dealing with. Because they said he crazy because he on that tack, but I wasn't crazy because I was on that tack. I'm using your word now. Tack was just the covering that covered up what I was really experiencing mentally. You see what I'm saying? I was only that's what tack did, but it only lasted for a while. Then I had to put another blanket on top of me. So then I had to take the tack along with the crack to put on top of me so that I could cover me. That's how I thought I was getting over. But really, when I was getting low.
One of the Instagram community of Better Health, Better Me just put, Pastor, you were self-medicating with the weed. And that's what we were doing. That's what we were doing. And what I'm going to bring you home. That's what they're still doing today.
Yeah.
They're self-medicating from,
Yeah.
like Brother Ed said. Now, like I said, that wasn't really my friend. That was just somebody hey, how you doing? This was a friend of Ed's. This was somebody in the war that he served in the war with. These are people that was really close-knitted in his circle. So how was he going to deal with that? He self-medicated. And like you said, it just took him off. And Ed, tell us about an experience. It's one experience that you had, because we understand that all of that are mind altering drugs. So tell us, in your self-medicating, what experience did you have off of that tack? That was it was a wow.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I had a T-shirt made that said "Death from above." That's from the war. All the sayings I have don't mean nothing. Now the thing, those are Vietnamese things. Vietnam veterans saying. But I had two experiences that I could tell you about. I was talking to a young lady in the Blue Moon. You know what that is? On 61st. And I was sitting there talking to her, and all of a sudden her head say, "Choo," and shot straight up to the ceiling. I say, "Whoa." I said, "I'll be right back." Then I had to call my wife, because Ajax Garage on 61st right off of Indiana, was driving my car. And while I was driving my car, I pulled over. And the reason I pulled over, because the car turned into an airplane. And I had to call my wife and tell them to come and get me, because I don't know how to fly this plane. And so they came and got me and knew it was something wrong and took me to the hospital. And when I got in there, they told me, they said, your blood pressure is like 190 over something. So it not only does this affect you mentally, but it affects you physically. Traumatic, because we have what we call epinephrine or norepinephrine that works for us or against us. It's called a flight or flight hormone. Now, you mentioned that sometimes we use fear. I never used fear. I wasn't afraid in Vietnam. I can't understand it. Why I wasn't. Maybe because I was 19 years old. Or maybe because I had been so mentally brainwashed from boot camp and AIT, or thought I was so macho that I didn't have time to get fear. So my fear that I developed right now, I have a fear. You wouldn't believe this. I'm a paratrooper. I got about 12, 13 jumps out of airplane. But I can ride in the airplane. But if I look at somebody standing on the ledge on TV, my knees get weak and I go to shaking. Right today. I'm talking about, if I turn on TV right now, I do it. I don't like going across bridges. I get nervous. My son goes all over these mountains and goes or look over the Grand Canyon. And if I can't do that, because it bothers me. I get real nervous, and I know I have to do. So we never get we never get past this PTSD. I don't care how many psychotropic drugs they put us on. I don't care how many counseling sessions we go to. The only way we overcome it. So yes, I use tack, I use weed, I use crack, I use all of those, and alcohol. And I was never a drinker. So I used all of them to try to use as a way of overcoming something that I didn't know that I have. And that's what the challenge we have right now. We see a lot of people in our community that you think they acting crazy, they're just a fool, but they've been through traumatic situations. Our young people have had to come up under traumatic situations growing up in the city. We're dealing with the 13 years old that have been seeing people gunned down in the city, and they've grown up with that image. We see children that have been seeing their parents killed as a result of drugs or things that have, whatever the reason is. We don't have to stereotype nobody, because all of us have fallen short of the glory of God. Because we don't have to.
The thing about that is that when you bring about the children, and we know this happened in the schools, but we know in the Black neighborhoods, it happened all the time. In some of the Hispanics neighborhood, and a lot of the as they call us, the poor neighborhoods, we know that happens all the time. This thing is daily, right? So the thing that I noticed, though, when it happened in the school, is that they will offer a moment of therapeutic therapy or counseling for these children. And you know what? It's a moment. You hear what he said. This PTSD thing, it don't last a moment. This thing lasts continuously. So now you done sat in there, and Lord knows how you done used the therapy or who you done brought in to talk to them. But what about the ongoing? I don't know. In my mind. Now, this is something that came up to me when God showed me this vision of something that I was going to do, and I called it Big Mama's presence. And I remember what I wanted to do. I was seeing how He was building it, and I was looking at the communities. And one of the major people that I wanted to be able to put into the community was a psychologist.
Yeah.
Somebody that the people who go through the traumas in our Black neighborhoods, somebody that they can be able to go to, not just one. We need more, because this thing happens every day. While we're talking now, it's a PTSD is happening in somebody's life. I want to bring up this one here right quick, right? Because we're on this time thing and I want to do it. And we're still in the PTSD. Listen to this.
Can I say this for 1 minute? You got to erase, but we got to erase the stigmatization that's associated with trying to seek help. Because we don't want to be judged because I need help. And seeing a psychiatrist does not mean that you're crazy.
But listen, I understand that. And you're right. We need to go and do that. But from us dealing with it, we're going to step into the reality space, Blake, of it. And I know I watched this documentary, and it was about these doctors, these ones that got the passion for what was the trauma that was happening in these particular neighborhoods, and how they had to, first of all, find the funding to be able to get this inside of their hospital, their clinic, to be able to get a room, just a room, where these children can come in and talk to. So yeah, in the reality place, yes, help is needed. And sometimes now, there's stigma that you might be crazy with it, but at least have a door open for when the stigma rises up off of me, I can go in and say, hey, I need help. But there's no door, Ed. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about down in the hood, where they have these clinics, but they don't have anything in the clinic where these people, and I'm talking about somebody that care. Don't put nobody in there that just don't care about what's the effect and what's really happening in these communities with these people. It's all about how we build.
We don't have a lot of clinics in our communities. We had one at 61st right off of Woodline, I believe.
Right off of Woodline.
It's not there. It. We don't have no clinics in our community.
It's not there anymore?
It's no. Why the ones that were going there, that would go there, even though they would go there to get some type of assistance or get their medication. Since they can't go there, you think they going all the way to the north side to get some medicine? No, they going to the corner of 47th Street. Then when they hit somebody, chasing somebody with a hatchet, he crazy. You want to lock him in the penitentiary, but you took the mental health that he was going through that would have kept him from grabbing that hatchet. You took the clinics away in the community that would allow somebody to go in and be medicated. So now we got a bunch of people out there that are self-medicated because of the challenges that they're going through.
Wow. Shut up. You come on, y'all. This here, listen, for all of you who just coming in, this is Word of Life Voices, where we're checking in with Mama Wade, Better Health, Better Me. And I am the host. I am Mama Wade. And my guest today is Reverend Edward Jones Sr. of Now Is the Time Ministry of Faith. And God gave us a subject. He downloaded that thing in me. Let's talk about how I got over it. And God wanted to bring you somebody who's not intimidated by telling the truth, because he's a senior pastor, he's a father, he's a known figure in the community, and a lot of people only know him as Pastor Ed Jones. They don't know what the journey that he took in order to get to this place. Like a lot of people only know me as Pastor Wade or Dwayne Wade's mama or Mama Wade, but you don't know the journey that it took for me to get to this place, and how many people that are standing in the pulpits today because they can't deal with, because they have no way of being treated for their PTSD, and how a lot of them you never know how some of them going to trigger, you know what I mean? But we know how God can come and how God can take us to a higher plane where we can be able to at least be able to deal with it in the mindset in which we have now got stuck in. Now, I didn't know that they took that clinic from the block. Now, if anybody listening to me, and if you're one of them, if you just happen to be alderman of the neighborhood or whatever, you need to get some help in there. You need to get some help in there instead of worrying about appearance. Get in there and do something for these people in these particular neighborhoods, and stop being prejudiced and working with one and not working with the other. Now, I've just got a little upset with that. I know that clinic was there.
So
I know it was there.
Look here,
and even though it didn't have a psychological place where we can go to because trauma was happening all around that clinic.
Now, don't get me wrong, and please don't misunderstand me. But I'm upset all the time because I can't understand. I almost cuss like you because I don't understand how we can send billions of dollars to Ukraine, and I'm not just helping nobody. But you can't give us money for mental health. We fighting a war. You helping with a war in a foreign country, and we got a war going on here. We got a war going on right here, and my war is the people in the war right here are suffering as a result of the same thing the people got to suffer from in Ukraine, and they're suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome right here because of what's happening in the war here in our street. And where is the help for us?
You heard it right here. You heard it right here. Better health, better me.
Where is it? Where is it?
He was a nurse. He had been in the nursing field. Understand me, in the medical field, in that place of caring about people, because he genuinely cared for over 50, 60 years. So yeah, he definitely have an inner outrage or righteous outrage. Can I say it like that? It's a right. He's not being mean or saying anything like that there. It's a righteous outrage that he's crying out. You know, where is the help? Where's on your schedule, your itinerary that you have every day? Where's the help for the people that's within the neighborhood? There's a cry going out. You know, it take me to the story of Moses when God eventually found the man that he was going to use. He said, you don't even know it, brother, but your life finna change as you know it. And he spoke to him and he said, listen, you tell the people that I hear their cries and I see their affliction. Yes. What am I saying? God is watching, and God would raise up a standard. He would raise up a banner. He done already birthed a man or woman he going to use in this world that's going to come and going to make some noise. And yeah, they're going to be a little nervous about it because Moses was nervous about it, but he did it anyway.
Cry loud and spare not.
He started believing God, but then along the journey, he got to know him. And when you know him, then that's when you can overcome it. You can do it. These people need him. People need him now today.
We need him.
I'm in a whole new state. And these people don't know me as the people that know me from where I come from. And every time I see a homeless person walking down the street talking to this.
It's a trigger.
Or when I see them over in a corner, just laying coddled up. You know what, Ed? I didn't even notice that, but that is my trigger.
Yeah, because you've been there.
Tears to my eyes. I want to empty my pockets out to them, but hell, some of them don't even want money.
No.
You know what? Some of them want. Can you just give me something to eat?
It's avoidance. It's avoidance. That's one of the symptoms of PTSD. Avoidance. They want to avoid the situation, and money's not going to help them. We got veterans right now that don't come and get the benefits they're due because they put us through so much hell to try for us to get the benefits to help us to survive in life from the war you sent us to, from the war you sent us to, the war you drafted us to. Well, I didn't raise my hand to go to Vietnam.
Come on, Ed.
You sent us to war, and then we got to lie, steal, and do all of that to try to get some benefits. People that out there that is trying to live on to, because money, the Bible tells us money answers all things. Now that's Ecclesiastes. That's true. So that it doesn't get rid of the PTSD. And I'm not saying it's all about money, but if we entitled to it, that can make our lives a little easier, can help us to feel a little better about ourselves because we don't have to deal with the stress of trying to feed our family, trying to pay bills, and try to live a decent life. For especially since we done fought to a country that y'all got on here, y'all spending $1 million on this resurrection for January 6th mess about that ain't gonna come to nothing. Don't get me started.
All right. We're not gonna get you started right now. That's like another show. But what I want to bring something else out, guys. Another group of people that are involved in the PTSD, so you can stop being so judgmental.
Yeah.
It's called now, they call it the complex of PTSD, and it's called CPTSD. And that's caused by the emotional abuse that people deal with. And the reason the question was asked, well, PTSD and CTPSD, PTSD, which one would you say is the more serious? Both of them serious. But he said in the CPTSD, that's an ongoing experience that somebody is having in their lives, emotional abuse. I dealt with emotional abuse, and man, listen, it will strip you of your identity. There's some people right now, some woman, some child, some man being told that you ain't nothing. You ain't gonna never be nothing. When I tell you to sit, you sit. When I tell you to stand, you stand. Get over there and don't say nothing. Or get to the point where you get a smack and you hold your head down. And then a lot of people say, listen, this you. Why you still in it? You don't understand the mind control, this certain fear that arise up, and this fear have now put you in a shell, in a box. Well, you don't seem like it. You stuck. I stayed stuck in that thing for a long time. And so it led me to a higher form of drugs. Only way I was able to even endure it, I shot heroin, I smoked cocaine, I smoked the missile, and I didn't do weed then. I went on up on another scale. And if I didn't have that, I dropped a pill. I did something to self-medicate to keep me protected in that shell as I was in that mental abuse, that emotional abuse. Being told after all coming up and you having somebody to tell you that you're the queen of the crops. You got somebody telling you can make it. You can do anything you want to do. And now down the road of your journey, you meet somebody to tell you ain't nothing. And I started to curse. You meet somebody to tell you, don't you look at that person. So you walk in the street looking like a robot, a statue, because you can't look at nobody. Because if you look at somebody, you're going to get it when you get home. Don't speak out of turn. You better know when to speak and when not to speak. That's CPTSD. That the prison, and we're coming down, listen. The prison, because I went to jail too. I had to go to jail. That was a part of the journey that Jolene Wade experienced. In the prison, it was filled with people that was suffering from CPTSD. I ran into on one of my times in prison, we called them bits. An older lady, beautiful, black, gorgeous older lady, had to be in her 60s, Ed, or maybe 70s. And I was curious. And I had a reputation in there being this meek, mild individual because I believed you do your bit, I'm going to do mine. I'm not going to get nothing added to mine. Don't bring your foolishness over here and I won't bring mine to you. And I really didn't have foolishness because God had my attention when I was in there. And so she accepted me in her space. And you don't go in anybody's space when you're in prison. So I remember she allowed me in and I asked her. And we called her mama on the tier. I was in the Cook County Jail in Chicago, Illinois. And I said, Mama, excuse me for being so personal, but why are you in here? Look like you want to harm a fly. What happened, Mama? She told me, Ed.
I know who I know what you're talking about.
That she was getting beat continuously.
I know. Yeah.
From this man that she was dealing with.
Yeah.
Never reported it. So guess what? Ain't no paperwork. Because I dare you go and report it. Somebody out there know what I'm talking about. Somebody in this thing now, or you know somebody in it, or somebody done been in it. You ain't gonna put no paperwork out there. But one day, Ed, and this happens, she
every day
snapped.
Yeah.
She got inside of her. My friend gave me an example of an egg. And in the egg, she said there is a thin part.
Yes.
There is a oval.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like rounded at the bottom.
Yeah.
And she said that when a chick is growing in an egg, that chick know, because that shell is usually there to protect them. And that's what a lot of us do. We go in a shell.
Yeah.
And so that older lady, like I was in that shell. And when enough was enough, Ed, that lady, just like them chicks, she came out of that shell. But when she came out of her shell, she came out of her shell to survive. And she killed them. Yes, she did. So she had to sit a while until they was able to tell her whether it was self-defense, because guess what? There were no paperwork. So going back and forth to court. And also the only proof she had was people that came and they testified to the fact that they saw what this man did to her. With me, when I was going through my beatings, when I was in my shell, and it's one day on the clock calendar of a person's life, and when I cracked through that thing, the person said I changed and I looked like somebody they had never seen before. And I went and told that person. It wasn't my children's father. His initials is GW. I'm not going to say his name.
I know him.
Now, ones from the neighborhood know who I'm talking about.
I know him. Yeah, I know him.
Which Brother Ed couldn't stand to see me being beat.
I want to kill him.
Kicked. I mean, he couldn't stand to see how I was getting these just because every day, black eyes, head being hit against brick walls and all this type of stuff happening. And one day, I bust out of that shell. And it was around somebody who knew me from coming up. And I told him, you call me a B one more time, I'm going to take you out. Who you talking about? Who you talking to? I said, I'm talking to you. And dude came for me. And when he came for me, I snapped.
Snap.
Crackle and popped.
That's my word.
And I went after dude running from me. I went after dude. We had it out. From the journey I came from seeing the first man ever dead in my life, from getting beat, from being almost raped, from being emotional abusive, being told I'd never be nothing, from jumping out of a window with glass all over my body, from all of the journey and experience, I think it hit that day. And I snapped out of it, man, and I wasn't nothing nice. Now, I didn't kill him. I didn't kill him. Life took on.
The grace of God.
It was the grace of God that I didn't kill him to go in jail for the rest of my life, probably, or spend enough years where it was seen like it would have been my life. But on that journey road, when I got on the drugs, Ed, real heavy, and I was living the homeless life, and I was doing what I was doing, just like my brother, because I was suffering from PSD, CPSD, PTSD. I don't know which one it was, but I too wanted to die. I too wanted to commit suicide. I asked the question like a lot of them ask, why am I like this? What happened to me? And so it made me want to get it all done and get it over with. But God in his grace and mercy dangled my children in front of my face. And that's the only reason that I didn't come out of that shell yet. Because God had me in another shell. He was covering me.
Yes, Lord.
He had some place that I needed to be, and that's where I'm at today.
That's how we got over.
Yeah, that's how we got over. Having a spiritual experience, so that I can have a relational experience, and that's what we had.
I want to thank you for something, because that was saying this until when you started talking, and I wrote it down. PTSD can lead you to cause CPTSD to your spouses, your family, and your loved one. Because hurt people hurt people. I thank you for that. I never connected that to today. And I realized that all the trauma that I put my wife through, who next month will be our 55th anniversary of being married. I can't imagine what I put her through. And even today, sometimes when she see that the PTSD, and it rises and it can be triggered, but I've learned to recognize the triggers and back out, and she'll see it. She don't become afraid, but I don't think she even understands the mechanisms of PTSD. But I've learned to know that I can go in prayer because that's how I get over.
Hallelujah.
When I turn to prayer, God in prayer. Now, I still have a psychiatrist. I still go to groups, but all of that. But it's the prayer and the righteousness of God and studying in his word that keeps me rooted and grounded. Because if I didn't have that egg that you're talking about, at any minute, I could crack it wide open. But thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
But thanks be to God.
Thank you, brother. This is my brother, Reverend Edward Jones Sr., who God allowed to come and be a part of our show today. If some of you want to reach out to him, I have up here his webpage. I mean, you can be able to get him, Reverend Edward Jones.
Just make it R-E-V. Take the rest of that reverend off.
See, I asked you before we got on.
It's REVEDWARDJONE.
So it's REV, guys. I can't get and change it.
That's it.
Rev Edward Jones at NITT ministryoffaith.org.
Yeah.
Rev, you guys can do that for me because our time is getting short. But I want to thank you once again, Reverend Ed, for coming on and giving us, number one, the experience of letting us see what you went through and how you got over it, and recognizing, guys, that you can do it with a spiritual experience. And that's going to lead you to a relational experience. And in a relationship, that's when you'll be able to go before and have somebody to come in your space and in your energy and in your place, and they be able to heal you from the inside out, because that's where the healing got to come from. It's got to come from the inside out. There will be residue. But when you got your experience, your relationship going on, and in some people's faith is Jesus Christ. That's who I stand on. You might have your own faith where you have your spiritual experience.
That's it. That's it.
That's where you go and you get free. Thank you once again, my brother, for coming on.
Don't be afraid to seek professional help as well.
Amen. That's it. Seek it. It'll work for you. All right. So, Brother Ed, I'm going to talk to you later. You have you a great day, and you be safe.
You as well. God bless you.
God bless you. Listen, I am Mama Wade, and I host Check In with Mama Wade, Better Health, Better Me. You can reach me at www.jolindawade.com. I'm having people to ask me on Instagram, can they be a part of my show? That wasn't the instructions. The instructions are for you to go to my webpage, and on my website, that's when you find the box that you will be able to put the message in there you want to send me, and we can talk from there. I'm not going to talk to you on Instagram, not in my personal. Don't call me on my phone. Just go to my website. If you also want to take a look at this program over again, or the other programs that I've had, and Check In with Mama Wade, you can go to my YouTube. My YouTube is Check In with Mama Wade. It's Check In with Mama Wade, not IN. Check In with Mama Wade. And while you're there, please subscribe. If you want to get this one and you want to get the ones we had before, come in and join me next week when I will be having two powerful men that will be a part of our show as well. On the 28th, which is Tuesday, I will be having Dwayne Wade Sr. This is somebody who dealt with prostate cancer. And because of that challenge and that fight that he had with prostate cancer, something rised up in him. And he have agreed to come on and to share his story. On the Wednesday, the 29th, I will be having my son, Antonio Stroger Sr., a very powerful man into the community, especially into the spiritual community, have his feet settled. God have him reaching people in places that a lot of people judge people at. But see, God know who to use. A lot of the celebrities, guess what? They come and they hear. All those would have an ear, let them hear. You never know who God called it. They hear that man of God. So he's going to come and he's going to close out our men's month. And we're looking to have a powerful, powerful next week, them 2 sessions there. So I'm looking to see you 10 a.m. Pacific time here on Check In with Mama Wade. You have an awesome, amazing day. Bye-bye.